441 Soul Not For Sale podcast. Let's get straight to it. Russell Brand, Tucker Carlson. Russell's asking Tucker Carlson about something called coded racism. He's talking about how his friends who are very, very liberal say that when Tucker Carlson brings up the shifting of demographics inside of a country, that is coded racism. You know, it's code. It's like the SOS, like dee. It's like that form of racism. It's very coded, you know? I think that's absolute nonsense, but I love that Russell Brand is willing to ask the question. So Tucker Carlson gets to address the labeling of him being a racist and a bigot, and I think he answers beautifully, and I just want to bring that to you guys right now. Of course, I have to bring you to IamCoachColin.com, the wonderful website that will bring you all sorts of anti-establishment clothing so you can give Klaus Schwab the finger in style. Now, a little tutorial. We go to America's Soul Not For Sale, and you get to see the newest line that we have out in the spirit of July, the Pride Month. Pride in your country, not that other pride stuff. Check out the t-shirt. All right. We got the Soul Not For Sale logo with the red, white, and blue atop of it. The stars and the stripes, of course. And if you're not into that kind of thing, we get it. You communist. Kidding, of course. We got the regular Soul Not For Sale shirt as well. We got the black and the white. And also, for someone who's not looking for that type of thing, we got some anti-WEF shirts as well. Somebody was asking for the white t-shirt. Just so you know, if you go to the catalog, you go to anti-WEF, right there, we actually have the t-shirt in... Oh, no, they were correct. So we're working on getting one in white for you guys, if anybody's looking for that. But just wanted to let you guys know that website is IamCoachColin.com. If you want 10% off, here you go. Discount code is IamCoachColin, all one word, all capital letters, one L in the Colin, gets you 10% off. And if you've gotten anything from our site so far, thank you so much. You are much appreciated. Now let's go into coded racism. Coded racism, and let Tucker answer this question. Let's go.
Some of the principles that are more typically associated with the left, like recognizing that all voices have a value in the conversation, and that essentially that racism is bad. So how do you feel about that, and what are you talking about when you say there's a demographic shift? You know, what do you mean? I would
say a couple things. First, I always try, I'm over 50, so like, why wouldn't I just say exactly what I think at all times? And I do. And so if I had, whatever my racial views are, I would just say them. And I'm just saying them now. So my views about race begin with my religious faith, which is not very sophisticated, but is sincere.
Yeah.
And that begins with the belief, the knowledge, the certainty that God created people, that they're not objects, they're not machines, they're not widgets in a bin waiting to be assembled by some company. They are distinct individuals with distinct souls, and they have equal value in the eyes of God. Doesn't mean they have equal ability. Doesn't mean they all look the same, but it means they have equal inherent value. And my politics flow from that belief.
Yes.
And so the idea that you would reduce people to their race and say, you know, we're going to treat this person better or worse because of his skin color is repugnant to me. And it's something that I've argued against every day that I was at Fox News, I think all of my life. You can't punish or reward people based on their immutable characteristics.
Yes.
Because they didn't choose those characteristics. So it's inherently unfair. It's inherently immoral. I'm totally opposed to it. And so if that's a racist position, I guess, you know, I'll just stand and take the punishment. I don't think that is. I think that's an argument against racism. I think it's wrong to reduce people to qualities they were born with and they can't control. Period.
Yes.
My views on immigration are super simple and I think mainstream and sensible. The fact of who lives in a country more than any other fact determines what the country is like. And so if you change it radically over a very short period of time, you're going to have a lot of social upheaval, a lot of churn. It's going to rattle people. People can't metabolize change very well at all. The Industrial Revolution led to Stalinism and then the Third Reich. Like, these are basic facts. It's not an attack on anyone's color at all. And I'm, whatever. So those are my views. I support a lot of, I don't know how I feel about immigration as a topic. There are a lot of immigrants I love, including my best friend, for whatever it's worth. So I'm not against immigrants. Like, that's insane. But the way that the United States is doing immigration is designed to wreck the country and to make it unstable and to destroy any social cohesion whatsoever or social trust, to make people hate each other and add to racial division, which I hate because it's not solvable. In contrast to, say, class division. If we're arguing about class, well, at least class theoretically can change. I can ascend or descend classes, but race doesn't change because we're not responsible for it. We're created that way. So you don't want racial conflict. That's the one thing you don't want. And I feel that in the United States, our leaders not only want racial conflict, but are stoking it. But as a practical matter, just in the context of U.S. politics, and perhaps it's similar in the UK, the term racist or white supremacist or white nationalist, these are terms designed to stop people from talking. I remember the first time I was called a white supremacist. And for whatever it's worth, I don't want to sound offensive, but I grew up in Southern California in the 70s, living with a father who was, in modern terms, very racially progressive or something. He was always saying, God created people. Like, racism didn't even make sense to me. That was not a factor in my life at all. And we lived right next to Mexico, whatever. So, but the first time I was called a white supremacist, I was like, geez, it hurt. It stung. And I thought, I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I know that I'm not one, but I know that that's like the worst thing you can be. That's like calling someone a Nazi, or a monster, or Satan, or like, what is that? And I was bothered by it. It was right when I started my last Fox show. So it was in the fall of 2016. And I did a kind of long, very sincere, I mean it too, sincere script about how, this is what I believe, and we're all created by God, and you should never punish or reward people based on their skin color. And it had no effect at all. And then I realized the people using those terms are not sincere at all. There's no sincerity. The words have no meaning to them, except as they're useful as tools to acquire political power and to make anyone who stands in the way of that shut up or go away or go to prison. And so once I realized they weren't sincere, then it's like, that's between me and God. And not only am I not a racist, I'm not much of a hater. Yeah. I really try not to be. And there are things that I hate, and there are people I feel like I'm on the verge of hating sometimes, or I feel myself obsessing. You're like in the truck, or you're, walking the dogs and you're pissed about something, and I can't believe that fucking person, whatever. And I really try and catch myself and say to myself, that will eat you if you let it fester like that. Don't be that way.
Man. So it's so funny the way, it's not funny, but the way that white people have to justify to other white people that they're not racist. It's really, really interesting, that game they played. And it touches on what Tucker said, is how these words don't have meaning to them. Not really. They don't have feeling behind it. A white person who's on the left, who's branding someone on the right as racist, they don't have that in their heart, like, oh, you racist. They don't have that. It's just a card that they pull out. It's just like, what are you gonna do now? You're racist. And what? Nah, you said this thing, and now I have these people here, and it's just a word. It's just a tool that they use to silence people. It's wild to see. And again, I said in the last video that people haven't woken up to that part of the playbook is just amazing to me. Like, amazing. If you're somebody who uses that type of silencing tool and people haven't woken up to it yet, it's just like, it's amazing. It's like you're invincible almost, Anybody comes, it's like you have an ultimate debate card that can like silence a debate. We're going back and forth on something, I just go, boom, you're racist. And if the person falls for it, if they go, oh, I'm not real, hold on, it's Sad to see, man. So sad to see. But I don't think Tucker's racist at all. And, you know, it's funny that we have grown to a world where when someone says all people have value, you know, people instantly, you know what they hear in their minds? Especially the people who are like racially charged and are trying to see it everywhere. They hear all lives matter. And for some reason, that statement outrages them. They're like, I don't want to hear that. You can't be saying that. It's very weird, you know, because 15, 20 years ago, you said all people have value. All people are created by God and everybody has equal value as a person, and you can't control your race, and you know you shouldn't be treating one person better than the other based on the color of their skin. You'd be like, wow, this person's great. They're echoing the sentiments of Martin Luther King. But nowadays, if you hear somebody say that, you're like, they might say they're not racist, but they're not anti-racist. You know, they put it up a notch. You have to be anti-racist, and that means that Tucker, in order to, you know, X out this branding of being racist, he would have to say, I love all black people. I love black people. And you know what? Give me a side of Asian people as well, and brown people. I love them all. And you know what? I would push aside any white person if they were in the way of anyone of any color other than white. Like, that's what gets you a pass now. You have to be up in arms in love with all other races. You can't just say that they're all equal. Saying they're all equal just isn't enough nowadays. It's getting pretty wild. But I liked his explanation of what he was saying. I really do. I really don't see him as racist. I've heard the things that you said. A lot of people, I remember there was someone in the comments, they're like, oh, you don't know what a bigot is. And it's like, what are you talking? I'm black. I know what a bigot is. Trust me. I grew up in the early 90s. Like, what are you talking? I know what they are. Believe me. Believe me. I'm just not the type of person that goes around feeling like I'm oppressed. I'm constantly being oppressed no matter where I go. If I walk into a room of all white people, I'm instantly oppressed. I'm instantly lower than. Like, I don't go around with that. That's a deranged mindset to have, in my opinion. I don't feel that way. I don't feel below anybody. I don't feel that people are better than me just because of the color of their skin. It's like, I don't know. You know, and for some reason, that's becoming a rare mindset as a person of color. I don't feel like anybody's oppressing me. I don't feel like anybody's holding me down. I feel like the decisions that I've made in the past are what have gotten me to this point. And if I wanted things to be better, I could have made better decisions. And because I want my future to be better, I'm making better decisions now. And nobody gets to hold me down. I get to make the decisions that I make. And I get to move up in the world, and I get to do better and better, and I get to create generational wealth, and no one's going to stop me just because I'm black and they're white, or because they're Asian or anything. I don't know. It's a weird thing. And then also the point of when he talks about changing demographics, that's really true. I mean, think about this. If you go to a country that has democracy, right, and you fill it with a bunch of people who are used to communism, who were okay with communism. You just fill it with those people. And then the people in power decide to introduce things that are very totalitarian and very authoritarian and very communist-like. What do you think is going to happen in that country? Those people who are used to it are going to be kind of okay with it. You know, there's a lot of places in the world where masks were being used way before the pandemic. So when the government was like, hey, everybody has to wear masks, those people were like, okay, whatever. I do that anyway. Who cares? You know? The people who had never had that introduced to them before, they were like, you're kind of, these are my rights you're stepping on. You can't be doing that. That shows like the changing of demographics does have an effect on the country. It really does. And it's not always good, but it's not always bad as well. Right? So think that same concept that I just brought up, you know, picture, I've seen this before, a place that's filled with Cuban people who left Cuba because of what was going on. When those people get any wind of anything that seems like communism, they are very loud about it. And they go, I know what this is. It's almost like they have PTSD. They're like, I know what this is. I know what this turns into. I don't want this. And they kind of get their chest up about their rights. And they're like, you're not gonna tread on me. Not about this. I know if I give you this inch, you're gonna take that mile. I'm not letting you do it. Now, if you fill the country with a bunch of, and think about this, a country that's overthrown a government before, right? Think about a country that's just democracy. Think of it, Canada. Think of it just Canada, US, and you fill it with people. Just fill it with people who have overthrown a government before. And then the government does anything that those people don't like. What do you think those people are going to do? They're going to be like, well, where I'm from, we just kind of overthrow the government. So why can't we do that here? Right? Not always bad. It's not always good. Like, you know, it's just how it is. Yes. If you fill a country with a bunch of people who have different views, the views of the country can easily change. And the people who aren't used to those views all of a sudden changing so rapidly, there's going to be a butting of heads. There's going to be social upheaval. There's going to be a huge divide. There's going to be civil unrest. It's just the way it is. Now, am I racist because of that? Well, no, I'm black. Don't you dare try and call me racist. It doesn't work that way. That's the trump card that I have. I go, yeah, I get to say this and bah, I'm not racist, you know? Whereas if I was a white guy and I said all of that, they'd be like, huh, wow, check this guy out and his privilege. I feel for Tucker, man. I feel for any of my white friends that get that type of branding. I've seen it happen time and time again, and it's just like, whew, jeez. And I've seen like people of color, black people in particular, say much worse things, and people are just like, you go strong person of color, you know? So it's the world we live in. I'm going to bring you more clips of Tucker and Russell talking. I love this interview. I haven't worked through it all yet. I got another hour and a half to work through about. So expect to see more. Like the video. It helps so much. Boost us out of the shadow realm. Bring us up out of the shadow realm. If you could, please. The like button's down there somewhere. It helps so much. You have no idea. And other than that, I'm out. Episode 441.